Welcome everybody to the Latin Nerds Network. My name is Jose. This is my review for The Black Phone, the newest movie from Blumhouse Productions. I like Blumhouse. I mean, and not every movie they make is great, but for the most part, I enjoy what they do, and I love their approach to making films, right? Because they're like the anti-studio, and what I mean by that is, they understand you don't have to spend 100, 150, $200 million to turn a profit in today's age and movies. They usually make these small budget horror films for the most part for pennies, for change in the sofa, and turn it to very profitable results. So kudos to them for that. So I always look forward to see what they do next. Here we have director Scott Derrickson, who's not unfamiliar to horror. He's done things like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, both of which I enjoyed, and he did Doctor Strange a couple years back. Never really a horror film, but either way. But here we have the new, and I'll say this is not exactly a horror film. Let me just lay this out there. This is more of a thriller with horror elements, and I'll get to more specifics in a minute. But we have here, of course, a small town back in, I don't know, 1978 or something along those lines. I think it's somewhere in Denver. But these kids are being abducted and presumably killed here by someone who the kids in the area are dubbing the Grabber, right? Who's played by Ethan Hawke. I like Ethan Hawke, and I love him in this role. He's really, really good. This is a role which he could have just overdone it, just kind of just hammed it up, but he didn't. It's very creepy, scary, just with the right touch of being unhinged, which I really like. I love all the masks that he uses in the film. Really adds an element of creepiness, which really worked in here. So I like that approach. But and so either way, so these kids, he one day kidnaps this one kid who has more advantages this time than any other kids he kidnapped in the past, and that comes in the form of a black phone. I mean, the room that this kid's kept in is like kind of four walls, very cement walls, soundproof room. There's a bathroom, a toilet, there's a mattress, and a little window. That's basically it. But there is a phone attached to the wall, which is disconnected, but still is able to take in calls. So the phone rings, he answers it, the kid answers it, and is kids in the other line. The kids taking turns, all who were abducted by him and inevitably killed by Ethan Hawke's character, and they're helping him along. They're giving him tips, ideas of what to do and how to find ways to try to escape, using what they learn in their time in that same room. So it's a very interesting dynamic there. He's talking to these essentially dead kids, and they're decided for whatever reason to help him out here. So I really like that. It's really interesting, really well done. The kid's really good. The kid who gets kidnapped, he's really good in the role, but particularly his sister is a gem. I absolutely loved her in this film. She steals every scene. She's an absolute boss in this film, and his little sister, who's also trying to help find her brother who got kidnapped. And she just doesn't take shit from anybody. I love that. I think audiences are going to absolutely love this character. I don't want to say too much about what she's able to do, and not to spoil anything. But nonetheless, the kid here is obviously, and I like this movie because again, this kid's obviously trying to find a way to escape from this presumably inevitably doomed situation that he's in, right? And the movie does a good job of putting the audience in his shoes, because there really seems to be no way he's going to be able to leave or escape or survive this whole situation. But that being said, again, this is more of a thriller than a horror film. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I didn't care, but sometimes people go into certain expectations, and when they're not met, they get disappointed. Because I know the trailers made it seem like it's going to be an all-out horror film, and it's not. It's got horror elements to it, some scenes, some imagery, absolutely. I mean, he is talking to dead kids for that matter. But there's one scene, one jump scare. It doesn't have many, maybe one or two at best. But there's one, the first one, really caught the audience and myself by surprise. We're all like, whoa, kind of jumped out of our seats. Some people was, kind of yelled out loud. And then there's a big laughter after the fact, that nervous laughter after the fact. It's really kind of a really cool, really well done scene. But for the most part, it's more of the tension, the mood, the tone of the film sets that really gets you engaged here and really puts you in the shoes of this kid, right? Some really cool tense scenes, but one towards the middle of the film and one in the third act. And I'll say the third act was great. I liked how this movie ended. I liked the arc that the kid had, and it's going to be very crowd pleasing, to say the least, and that's all I'll really say about that. But it was really well put together, and a very well put together film. I really enjoyed this one. I really liked it a lot. One of my favorite films this year. And I'll say this, and it's not really negative. Some people may find it to be negative. It's a slow paced film. It's a slow burn. It does take a while for the movie to get going, but the payoff is there. When you have a good payoff, right, the time it takes in the beginning doesn't feel as bad, right? It makes sense. I understand why did that, why they set the beginning up, and why it took its time to set up these characters, right? Make you really care about what's going on, set up the situation, particularly with the kid and what the kid goes through. I think it's really important to show how this kid was, right? How he was constantly being bullied and all that. And so I like that part of it because, again, that pays off at the end of the film. So just be patient with it. First 15, 20 minutes, it's setting up, takes its time. Give it a shot. Once it gets going, once he's captured and kidnapped, things tend to pick up, and you got some of the scares and some of the tense scenes that this movie has on display. But that being said, I really enjoyed it. As long as had the expectation, it's not a horror film. It's a thriller with horror elements. I think you're gonna be fine. I enjoyed it. Another good hit for Blumhouse. I think audiences are gonna like this film. I really enjoyed it. I really recommend you guys go watch it. Check it out. Comes out this weekend. If you do, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. And of course, if you haven't done so already, subscribe below and feed my need to go to the movies and talk about it afterwards. See you guys next time.